Okay, so we're up to number 41. This doesn't tell you to use de Moivre's theorem, but there's no way you're going to go -1 plus I to the 6th power, so that should be the trigger. But this is where de Moivre becomes your BFF. And so what we're going to do is first, we got to find all these parts, R, N, and theta. So once we know R, once we know N, once we know theta, then we can just stuff it all in there and figure it out. N is always the power, so that's the easy part. R, we got to calculate by plotting that point. So -1, 1. Remember, there's a little invisible 1 there. So that's telling me this is a 45, 45, 90, which is giving me a lot of clues, which is telling me that the square root of 2 is my R. Theta is 135. So now I'm ready to plug all this information in here. So I'll try it over here. So R is the square root of 2, N is the 6th power, cosine of N, which is 6, times theta, which is 135, plus I sine 6 times 135. Now, the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, 6 times is just a 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. So I got 8 times 6 times 135 is 810. So cosine of 810 plus I sine 810. Now, clearly, this is not the answer, and it couldn't be anyways because this needs to be less than 360, but they want it in A plus BI form, which means keep going. So if I subtracted 720, now by the way, what's 720? That's 360 plus 360. So it's just 2 times around. This would be the same thing as cosine of 90 plus I sine 90, which means I need to remember this weird situation. It's not a very good drawing there, it's a little better. Where there's my opposite side, it equals my hypotenuse, and my adjacent side turns into 0. So cosine of 90, remember that's adjacent. Cosine of 90 is adjacent over hypotenuse, which would be 0 over some number, so that's just 0. And then sine of 90, because these are positive and they're equal, would be a 1. So I'd get 1i. Then I distribute the 8. 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 1i is just 8i. So technically it's 0 plus 8i, but they're just looking for you to understand that's the same thing as letter C. So hopefully, now that we're through, we're all the way up to Unit 5, because it's fresh on the old brain, this should just be an easy section. So all you got to do is double A to get started. Don't have much space, so I'm just going to write real small. So it'd be 6, -4, -2, 2. And then I'm going to multiply B by a 4th. This could get messy. And then I'm subtract. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to multiply by a -1/4 and then just add. So then it just seems to be a little simpler. So -1/4 times -2 is 1/2. -1/4 times 1 is -1/4. -1/4 times -4 is just 1. -1/4 times 2 is -1/2. And now I need to add these. So I get 6 plus a half is 6.5. And really, I can get rid of that one. Oh, there's 6.5, 6.5. None of the above, not possible. This is possible, so I can get rid of that. And I'm just going to keep going. So -4 minus 1/4 is -4.25. You can see this is probably going to be my answer. So -2 plus 1 is -1. There goes the pencil. And then 2 minus a half is 1.5. Ooh, they tricked us. So it's a good thing we held on to the end, because that's not that. So it has to be D, none of the above. Okay, so this just says multiply b times a. I recommend highly, highly, highly that you literally put it in the proper order, because there's my b, here comes my a, and now we multiply. So remember what we do. We take the first row, multiply it through the first column. So 0 times 6 is 0, plus 2 is 2. Now we take the first row and throw it through the second column. 0 plus negative 3 is negative 3. Now we go down to this row. Negative 12 plus 12 is 0. Now we multiply this row by this column. Negative 2 plus negative 18 is negative 20. Now we go on the hunt for that. It looks like it's option A. Okay, so we're up to number 44, and it's asking us to find the inverse matrix of this matrix. And there's a little formula that we have. So the first thing we have to do is figure out the determinant of the original 2 by 2, which is A. Multiply this way, we get 2. Got to subtract. Multiply this way, we get 3. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Now we got to do the little switcheroo. So A and D, we got to switch. So whatever these are, we switch them. And then B and C stay put, but you take the opposite of them. So 1 turns into negative 1, 3 turns into negative 3, and a lot of people want to now figure out what the determinant is, so they multiply here, and that's not what they're asking you to do. Now they're just figuring out what is the 2 by 2 matrix that's the inverse matrix of this. So that's a helpful hint. You're done when you find the matrix. So all you got to do is multiply everything by negative 1, and you're done. So it'd be 1, 1, 3, 2. And that would be letter D. All right, number 45, pretty simple problem. Determinant just means number. Every matrix has a number. This is a 2 by 2. You multiply that way, subtract that thing. So it's negative 2 plus 3, which is 1. Let's go on to this one. This just says row 2, and that says column 3. So 2 back-to-back, pretty simple problems. Row 2, column 3 would be Z2, and that would be A. Number 47 is telling us what to do. It's telling us multiply row 3 by 3 halves, which is 1.5. Add it to row 1, and then replace row 1. This is huge. This is the one that's going to be changed, and it's the only one that's going to be changed. So we go to this one, we multiply the third row by 3 halves, and then add it to row 1 and look for the answer. So I know, because row 1 is the only one that's going to change, I know this is going to be 0.5, negative 1, 5, 0, negative 1, 2, negative 3, 4. Now I got to do the math. Negative 3 halves times, or 3 halves times negative 1 is negative 3 halves. Plus that would be negative 0.5 if we want to stick with decimals. This times this would be 3. 3 plus 6 is 9. This times this would be negative 9 halves, which would be negative 4.5. This times this would be 6. 6 plus negative 3 is 3. Now I go on the hunt, find that match. And I either screwed up or it's none of the above. So I'm going to go with none of the above. So it must have been in a little bit of a hurry. 3 halves times negative 3 would have been negative 9 halves, which is negative 4.5. And then I forgot to add it to 2, because that would be negative 2.5. So it's not none of the above. It is, well, I'm not going to waste your time, 47. It's B. There it is. All right. So now we go on to number 48. All right, so number 48, we take a look at this. The first thing we analyze is what row has been changed. And we can tell that row 2 has been changed. So we know it's going to end up with plus R2. That's why I circled these two. Means these are just bait to see if you would grab it. but we know it's going to be C or D. Well, how do you figure out which one it is? I think multiple choice makes these problems easier because we can experiment with letter D, see if it works. So double row 3 and add it to row 2 and see if it works. So 2 times this is -6. -6 plus 4 is -2. We can already see that that doesn't work. Now let's make sure this does work. So 4/3 times -3. See, I'm multiplying row 3 by 4/3. Would be -4. Then -4 plus that 4 would give me my 0, and I can be rest assured that it's got to be letter C. Okay, so 49, it just says solve it. Doesn't say how to solve it, so I imagine most of you are just going to use your old school elimination. So -6x minus 15y equals -48. 6x minus 14y equals 48. Well, that makes things easy. So these cancel. I get -29y equals 0. Divide by -29, I get y is 0. As you can see, that's not it, that's not it. So now I can put y as 0 in one of these. So I'm going to go 2x plus, I know this is just going to be 0, so I'm going to cancel it, equals 16. Divide by 2, I get x is 8. So it's going to be 8, 0, which is just letter E. Last problem. If Cramer's rule is used to solve the system, identify dz. All you have to remember is you have to take your constants and replace all of these. So your x's would stay the same. It would be 0. Oh, they slid that over. That might be confusing. Whoops, I already screwed up. It is confusing. So what I would recommend that you do with this craziness is maybe take a second and just say 1, -1, 1, 0, and then that 2 would slide over, so that'd be 2. There isn't a y, so that'd be my 0. -3, -1. And then 3, -7, 5, 4. Now I got to take this guy and replace this. So I'm going to end up with 1, -1, 0, 2, 0, -1, 3, -7, 4. And now I'm going to go on the hunt for that. And it looks like it's letter C. We got a match. And that does it. Good luck.